Bunny Man.
And I'm Crazy Susie.
And we are in the Eyes of Terror.
Yes, Bunny Man was so nice to give me his cold, so now this week I get to sound silly.
Yes, well, sharing is caring, and everybody loves the sickness. All right, so we have a new month going on. What is the theme of this month?
This month it's High School Dance Till You Die.
Yes, it is probably the most exciting time for our high school students and the worst time for parents. It is that time of year again. It is prom. And doesn't your wallet feel like it's burning right now every time you go by a store? $95 hair, 100 and some odd dollar dresses.
100 and some odd dollars.
300 some odd dollar dresses. They're going to wear one time, and let's hope they never take it off in the back of a car.
I don't think that's appropriate, but okay.
All right, so other than my fears of high school prom, because we're a parent of a 17-year-old girl, fortunately, she has been homeschooled.
Yep, we bypassed prom. Yay.
Okay, so starting our new segment of What Are We Drinking? So I am drinking a Labatt Blue Canadian Pilsner. It's not my usual style, but it's grown on me. I do enjoy a good Pilsner once in a blue moon.
I chose his beer selections this week, so I kicked in a
Pilsner. A light one. But if you're going to go with Pilsners, either go with Canadian beer or German or Czech. You can find a good Czechoslovakian Pilsner. That's where Pilsner started, was Czechoslovakia. Little beer history. And it's supposed to be traditionally drank warm.
That sounds kind of gross.
Well, you got to think refrigeration is something new. A good Pilsner is more on the sweet side than it is on the Budweiser side.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm just having green tea because, the sickness. Thanks again for that.
Well, you're drinking the hard stuff, so you always drink the hard stuff, that green tea or the water. So, All right.
Okay. Our first movie in this High School Dance Till You Die lineup is The Loved Ones.
2009.
This film was it was quite interesting.
This is not I want to say bad film, but this one is definitely something that hasn't been seen a lot of, at least in the United States. This is an Australian film. So curl up with a nice koala bear and eat a Vegemite sandwich as you watch this, I guess. And do something shrimp on the Barbie.
Do something Australian while you watch it.
And I guess drink, the un-Australian beer, Foster's. Because Foster's, from what I understand, is not sold. It's not very much consumed in Australia. It's just mostly known for its export.
It's a horror thriller. It got a 6.7 out of 10 on IMDb, which is pretty high. It's 1 hour and 24 minutes long. It is rated R. And we found this film on Tubi TV. As we've said previously, Tubi TV is free. You just go on, you register as a user. You have to give very few pieces of information, and you can watch the films on there for free. So we do advise that you guys do that. It is a good source for free entertainment.
And we're not sponsored by Tubi TV, but if you are Tubi TV or know somebody who is part of Tubi TV, give us a shout out, would you? That'd be awesome if we could be sponsored. But if you don't like advertisements, that's how Tubi TV makes his money, is by advertisements. So it's sort of like early Hulu.
Yep, and
but not as bad as Hulu.
Free is free in my world.
Yeah.
So the director and writer is Sean Byrne, I believe is how you pronounce it. I'm horrible at pronouncing things, so don't kill me for that.
Or Byrne.
Byrne, maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Byrne.
Byrne, I guess so. The cast, and I will give you a partial list. The full list can be found on imdb.com because ain't nobody got time for that. Xavier Samuel plays Brent. Robin McLevy plays Lola. Victoria Thane plays Holly. Jessica McNamee plays Mia. Richard Wilson plays Jamie. John Brupton plays Daddy. Andrew S. Gilbert plays Paul. Susie Doherty plays Carla. Victoria Egger plays Judith.
And many, many more.
Yeah, like I said, for the full list, you can go to IMDb and they have everybody listed. This film was located, or the location of the film was Australia, like we said.
Was it in Victoria? I think it's Victoria, Australia, for an exact location. I know Film Victoria was part of it, so within that region.
And the budget for the film was $4 million.
And what's the box office?
Well, what does it say?
$250,170 Australian. Mm-hmm. So.
And this film won 2 awards, and it was actually nominated for 11 awards. So not too shabby.
And in this film, to continue our current other theme of, look, it's a film from a car perspective.
Yes, we've had several films where it starts out and you're in a car. It all started
In a car.
in a car. And then you're wondering, what?
When did they get out of the car?
Where's Torgo?
Yes.
Damn it, Torgo.
Hey, let's cut down on the cussing. We're a clean podcast.
I didn't realize that damn was a cuss word, but I guess
I don't-
loosely it is.
Yeah, I don't know what cuss words are anymore because they keep changing them. So, it's like lingo. I don't know how to speak anymore like the teenagers do.
Okay, so the movie begins with an 80s styles music. You see clips of this small town, and a dad and a son is in a car, and they're driving down these windy country roads. The dad is teaching the son to drive, and they're all cutting up, and the dad's telling the son, now son, you pay attention. And they're driving and cutting up.
The dad lights a spliff.
The dad goes to light his cigarette, and he's telling the son, they're still just cutting up and having a good old time, and the dad's telling the son, you don't know what good music is, boy. They don't make music like they did when I was your age. And he changes the dial on the radio, and they're kind of bopping along to the music, and they're just cruising. They're having a good old time. Evidently, neither of them are really paying attention to the road, because all of a sudden they both look up and there's this guy in the middle of the road. So the guy's in the middle of the road, and the kid, Brent, he swerves to keep from hitting the guy. They go off the side of the road. They hit a tree.
Well, it looks like it's a paved road, but the shoulder's dirt, loose dirt, and it's a pretty empty field. Unfortunately, it's like the one tree in the entire area, but it looks like he loses control because he hits the pay dirt. And if anybody's ever been in that situation, the worst thing you could ever do is tug back really hard because you're going to lose control. And he basically lost control and spun out and hit this tree to avoid, as you should, avoid this guy. So,
yeah, well, you find out later on in the movie that the father doesn't survive the accident.
But this guy, he has this very peculiar thing on his chest. He looks like it's this heart that has been carved into his flesh.
Yeah. The guy that's walking down the road.
Yeah. And he's sort of in like his own little universe of...
He's in a daze. Like, he's just walking down the middle of the road. So the next scene is at the local high school. And you see Brent, which was the guy that you saw in the car. The kid. He's at his locker. This shy girl named Lola comes up to him and asks if he will go to the dance with her. And he very nicely tells her sorry, that he's already going with Holly.
Which is his girlfriend.
Right. She leaves, and his friend Jamie comes up to him and, just starts talking to him like guys talk. Jamie's telling him, well, you might as well take this rubber I have because I'm not going to be using it anytime soon.
Yes, but I did not know if you know this or not, but do not put condoms within wallets. It deteriorates them.
Yeah.
Because of body heat, and as close as they are to the body, constantly within a closed environment, it actually destroys the not just the integrity of the said condom, but also the anti-spermicidals. If you get it, so
It degrades it.
and a lot of people leave them in their wallet for past their expiration date. And yes, condoms do have expiration dates.
Yeah, kind of defeats the point, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So he's talking to his friend Jamie, and the girl that Jamie really wants to go to the dance with comes up to her locker. Her name is Mia. And Jamie goes up to Mia and asks her to the dance, and she says yes. So Jamie gets all excited, and
Yeah, because he didn't think he had a chance with her. He was just like, yeah, I'm going to strike out. And what's his name? I want to say Alex, but it's not its name.
who?
The main character.
Brent.
Brent's like, go for it, just do it. What's the worst basically she could say is no.
Right.
And he was like, oh, dragging his feet. And then he actually does ask her. And
Well, Brent's really laid back, and he's a relaxed, kind of just a keepy-fied guy.
yeah, he's usually, but I mean, he looks like, and he acts like your typical metalhead.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's got that. I'm rebelling because my boots are loose and I have holes in my jeans and I don't know what zippers are on my backpack, which I was in high school. That was me. Until I realized that my homework keeps flying out of my backpack and I don't know what happened, so I used the zippers a little bit more.
Yeah, so Jamie was all excited, and he left jumping up and down because Mia said that she would go with him to the dance. And so Brent met up with Holly after school, and during a very awkward lovemaking session, he vaguely mentioned to her that he was asked to the dance, and she kept trying to ask him who it was that asked him to the dance. I'm sorry, guys. If a girl is trying to make out with you...
Well, she was doing a little bit more than just making out with his face. So she was making out with other parts too. So
Right. I mean, they were in the throes of sex, and she kept asking.
Number one, that's a boner killer. Don't ask me questions.
She kept asking who it was.
Okay, but here's the rule: if you're a lady or other men understand, don't ask questions because there's not enough blood flow between the both of them.
I was like, what is wrong with her? What does it matter? He's obviously with you. You're the
You
one on
and
top
your-
of him.
Molly face.
He obviously is not interested in going with this other girl. What does it matter?
But she keeps egging him on, and he's just like, not enough blood flow.
He was like, it doesn't matter. And he gave her little hints, and he was like, I put her down nicely. I said, I'm sorry, I'm going with Holly, and he did. He let her down nicely, maybe too nicely because he realized she was a psycho later, but
I don't think any amount of being put down at this point with her would prevent what was about to happen. Just pointing something out.
so they get done and she drops him off at home. And she says she'll pick him up at 7. And maybe he should go out with the other girl. That maybe she wouldn't mind having an emotional retard for a boyfriend.
And then he does reveal the name. But you forgot sort of like a...
No, he never gives her the name.
No, he does.
No, he does not.
Yeah, he does. At the end, right as he gets out of the car, he goes, it's Lola. But he says it's relatively quietly.
Not to the point to where she hears it.
Yeah. No, but he does say the name.
Because she has to, when they're trying to figure out where he is, she has to, put little pieces together to try to figure out where he could be.
Well, the thing is, I think it was just, it's like, oh, I think it was not more of she. It was more of a dismissive type thing. Oh, okay. It's from the outward experience. They didn't see her sitting outside of the car as they're bumping uglies. Which is what happened. They were getting in. She was on top of them, and she saw everything, and no one sort of was like, I wonder if somebody's watching us because this is also broad daylight.
Right. That was creepy too that she
yeah.
watched him. It was messed up. The whole movie's pretty messed up, but that's what makes it really good too. So, but
He gets dropped off.
Holly drops Brent off at his mom's house, says these hurtful things to him, and then turns around and says, I'll pick you up at 7. Be ready, yada yada.
We do find something else in this conversation of that he does self-harm. So let's just say right now, if you have or are, you need to seek help. That's a trigger warning too if you watch this, but it doesn't linger on that.
Right. So Brent has a conversation with his mother about the dance, and she asks him how is he going to get there. And he says that Holly's going to drive him. And she says, well, Holly doesn't have her license. And he says, yeah, she got it today. And his mother's very apprehensive about Holly driving because she doesn't have much experience. And he says, Mom, if I take a taxi, I could still get in an accident. Accident's going to happen at any time. Look at what happened with Dad. That accident happened.
But I mean,
I was somewhat of an experienced driver at the time.
But I mean, but it's not like a rational conversation. Is like he just loses it after she points out that he's the one that connected the father issue. Right. That's an underlying thing in their entire relationship. It's just
Well, she was just coming at him out of concern and wanted to make sure he was going to be safe because honestly, he's the only thing she has left in this world. Well, he storms out in a rage and just leaves. And he goes off to this cliff. He climbs it. He gets halfway up it, loses his grip, almost falls down. He was so far up it that if he would have fell, he could have died.
Mm-hmm. But he was doing it on purpose because, again, we see him. He has a necklace on. It's a razor blade.
Right.
And he's holding it, and blood is dripping down his hand.
Yeah.
So he goes out there. He's self-destructive, but not self-destructive to the point of death. Right. It's enough to get the blood flowing. Because he slips, but he hangs off of the cliff for a little bit, and then he loses the other gripping, or it starts breaking, and he freaks out and starts climbing the rest of the way.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that everybody knows he sort of goes there.
Mm-hmm.
So, because of what's about to happen next. But he gets on top. His dog is already up there chilling because it knows the path.
The path to go up, yeah.
And then he listens to his MP3 player, and his mom calls him. And he tries to ignore it, and then I guess he's like, I screwed up. I shouldn't have yelled at her or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then...
Well, during this time, you see that... Holly's getting ready for the dance and she's getting all dolled up, and then you see everybody else is getting all ready for the dance, and which is what he should be doing. He should be at home getting ready for the dance, but instead he was pig-headed and, had to get all grumped up and had to storm off and everything. So instead of being at home getting ready for the dance like everybody else is doing, he's up on this cliff stewing. So...
But then he has an MP3 player on, and he doesn't notice that his dog is freaking out.
Right. His dog is barking because there's an intruder up there, and he goes to answer his phone because he sees that it's ringing. He picks up the phone, and he goes to put it to his ear and pull the earbud out. Right as he goes to do that, someone comes up behind him and puts a cloth over his face. And it cuts to a scene where a vehicle is driving down a dirt road.
Well, it shows that he's struggling a little bit with the
right.
You just know it's an older gentleman. That's all you know.
Well, it doesn't show you that you assume it's a man because it's a bigger bodied person. Yeah. His mother worries that it is near the time of the dance and he hasn't called. She's not able to get in touch with him. He's not coming home. So she goes over to the Clift area and yells for him. He's not there. On her way back to the house, Holly comes over and she asks Holly if she knows where he is, and she says no. Her and Holly are waiting at the house, and his dog comes back to the house, and his dog has multiple stab wounds. Holly ends up taking the dog to the vets.
This scene is very gut wrenching of just like how brutal, I guess it was, and it's just it's very realistic. With the dog was wheezing and stuff. It was just a very sad moment, because of just how realistic it was.
Well, the dog was like in the seat of the car. It was whimpering and crying, and it was covered in blood, and Holly was freaking out and very emotional as she was trying to drive down the road to take it to the vets. And
well, what I'm saying is, like, within this movie, this is a very realistic scene, and it's heart-wrenching.
Mm-hmm. So Jamie goes to pick up Mia. He has a smoke in the car before he goes to her door. Her parents make her pose for a photograph before they let them leave. The funny thing is, evidently, instead of leaving his pot in the car, he stashed some of it in his pants. Why on earth he chose to do this, I don't understand.
We find out that because Mia's dad is also a policeman.
Yeah, he's one of the cops. He's like the sheriff.
Cop, yeah.
He's the sheriff on the police force. I don't understand.
And the dog is all up in his business.
Yeah, they have a family pet, and the dog comes out to greet him when Mia comes out. And the dog goes all up in his private parts and is acting like he's got some liver snaps in there or something.
He's definitely got something. And he's just, it's...
So when they get to the dance, Jamie makes the comment that he didn't want Mia to think that he didn't have good hygiene. That wasn't why the dog was all in his crotch. And she was like, why would you tell me something like that? Did you think I was going to suck you off or something? She was like, why would you say something like that? And he was like, no, I was just saying that because the dog was smelling my pot, not because I don't wash myself.
Yeah. And she was like, basically, well, get it out and let's
have a smoke.
Yeah.
She was like, I know that. He was saying it was in my pocket. That's why the dog was all in my business. So they get to the dance, and Jamie was asking Mia if she wanted to go into the dance, and Mia was like, why? Why do you want to go into the dance? Why do you want to go into the dance? Why don't we just have a party here ourselves? So they drank and smoked in the car.
He has a really nice car, though. It looks like an American muscle car. I don't know, but it was a nice car.
So at this point, you find out that Brent was captured by Lola and her crazy dad.
Okay, so we see Lola, and she's in her bedroom, and there's this song. This song is...
The I'm Not Pretty Enough song.
It is teenage girl angst to the 10th level. And it plays a lot in this movie. And then it's one of those songs that you can listen to maybe 3 times and it's on repeat in your head for at least a day. I know, because that's what happened to me.
How does it go?
I don't know. Am I not pretty enough? Am I not smart enough? Am I not tight enough? I don't... it's basically saying, like, why did you reject me? And because she just feels like she's being rejected by all these boys that she's ever liked. Well, there might be a good reason why she's being rejected. So...
Because she's psycho.
But her dad gives her this this present of a prom dress.
It's like bubblegum pink.
Yeah, it is hideous. And she undresses in front of him and puts on the dress. And you can sort of tell that there's like some weird tension within that because he's trying to avert his eyes, but he's not doing a very good job. But she's doing it on purpose also. It's not like out of innocence. It's literally like you're starting to somewhat. There's a lot of pieces in this movie that finally connect. So later on.
Yeah, it's creepy. Yeah, she gets dressed and her dad stands there and watches her as she changes. Yeah, it's... That whole scene is just a little... So they dress Brent up in a tux and tie him to a chair that is bolted to the floor.
Well, he's knocked out. She freaks out because we see this old truck just, getting some chicken and then getting a dead rodent off the side of the road. There's a lot of like little things that you're just like, I'll notice it. It's a female arm. That's weird. But she freaks out and because he's in the back of the truck and she's like, is he still alive? Mm-hmm. And then she goes up to him and is like, oh, yeah, the dump. It was just a really creepy, like...
So they're all seated at a table. There's Brent, Lola, her dad, and
Bright Eyes.
Who they call Bright Eyes.
And Bright Eyes has an interesting little thing going on with her.
So Lola gets a hypodermic needle, a quite large one, and a bottle of cleanser, and she injects it into Brent's neck. And after that, he's not able to scream or talk or make much of any noise.
I'm not sure if it like permanently damages the vocal cords or temporarily freezes them.
Well, later on in the movie, he's able to make some noise, so I don't know if it's a permanent thing or not. But
and then so they inject him right in the neck, and then they say one of their catchphrases, and that is, "I can't hear you." Mm-hmm. And they say it in unison, like it's a game.
Right. And then everybody takes photos with Brent. Lola gets in his lap, and her dad takes photos, and then her dad said, well, what about Bright Eyes? Take a photo with her. So they put Bright Eyes in his lap, and Lola didn't like that she was getting the attention, so she pulled her hair.
Well, what's going on with Bright Eyes? What is going on with Bright Eyes? She's got that scarring in the sort of the center of her forehead there, and this sort of La La Land, which we find out how that all happens.
Yeah.
But I can just say, if anybody knows, it's the Jeffrey Dahmer effect. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so their family is sitting down to dinner, and they're eating a bucket of chicken.
And glasses of milk.
And milk, yeah.
That's the weirdest combination, in my opinion.
You see with a lot of things that the character Lola is just a really twisted person. Mm-hmm. Lola somehow gets the wishbone. Not really sure how this happens because...
I didn't think chickens had wishbones.
They do. I mean, they're a bird. All birds have wishbones.
But I thought it was mostly turkeys. Maybe that's just an American thing.
You would have to have the whole bird in order to get the wishbone.
Yeah. Okay.
So it doesn't make any sense to me why a bucket of chicken, why they would have the wishbone. But...
Unless the wishbone's optional and you pay $1.50 for it. It's Australia. We don't know anything about it. Maybe they're just a weird country that gives out wishbones.
Maybe, I don't know. Well, Lola has the wishbone and she asks her dad if he wants to make a wish, so they make a wish together. And I can't remember who broke it, I think he did, but she said, I wished for you, and he said he wished for her, and it was messed up. Anyway, Lola makes the comment that, Bright Eyes, you're too skinny, and tries to feed her, like force feed her a chicken leg, and then pours a whole glass of milk in her face.
Yeah, and then Bright Eyes starts crying or whimpering or whatever.
And she's like, if you get too skinny, Daddy won't find you pretty anymore.
Yeah. And then she goes over to Brent and saunters over.
Well, Brent stares at her.
Yeah.
And so she's like, what are you looking at? So she then tries to feed him. And she was like, well, is it finger licking good? Huh? Is it? She sticks her finger in his mouth, and she was like, is it finger licking good? And makes him suck her fingers. Her dad gets PO'd about this and stands up.
Gets a hammer, though. He gets a hammer. Because I think he knows that he might possibly try to bite off her finger.
He gets up and gets a hammer. Brent says he needs to go to the bathroom.
Well, says. How do you say it with a destroyed vocal cord? Motions that he has to piss?
He said toilet. He just
Yeah.
said toilet. So she pulls his thing out of his pants.
Okay, but before that, this is the most horrific part of this entire movie.
Oh, yeah.
This is so disgusting, so foul. She chugs the glass of milk. Ugh.
We don't consume dairy products, so. And then it showed a close up of her mouth after she chugged the glass of milk.
Oh, and it says strings of milk. It was just
Flimmy strings of milk in her mouth. Buddy Man was like, I'm gonna vomit about something completely different.
It was gross, terrifying. It still haunts me to this day. I have PTSM, post-traumatic milk syndrome. It's so disturbing.
Yeah, he doesn't even consume non-dairy milk, so milk of any fashion, shape, or form does he drink. So.
I do consume one type of milk. It has to be of the chocolate variety.
Chocolate non-dairy milk, yes.
White milk, that's no go.
But you haven't drank it recently because we've all been congested, so.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Terrifying.
She chugs the milk,
Yeah.
pulls his wang out of his pants, sticks it in the glass, and says, okay then, pee. As she's staring at him in the face.
And then her dad is just like staring him down and then slams that hammer
On the table.
on the
Yeah.
table. So, I don't know about you, but that helps with the pissing process.
Yep.
I like to perform for a crowd.
We why everybody staring at you.
And then, so they started counting down to 10.
She's like, I'll give you 10 seconds. Daddy, get the nail.
And he comes up behind him and flicks the nail.
If you don't pee in 10 seconds, Daddy's going to nail your wiener to the chair. Right at 10 seconds, he peed.
Yeah, I would too. And you can sort of tell that was the best pee ever. You're like, thank goodness.
Lola goes, aw, it's crying. I'd better kiss it and make it better. Or maybe I should bite it off.
So, what's her name doesn't kiss it again?
Right.
Holly. So Holly doesn't kiss it again. And it's like, so you're starting to see things come together. It's interesting.
As she bends down, Brent kicks her across the room, hops up. His feet are tied together.
Well, he had he's had the necklace, the razor blade necklace the entire time, and he was sawing through the
ropes
the
behind
ropes.
that his hands were tied up
So
with. Yeah.
so I don't know how originally he got it off his neck because they had to get him naked in order to put him in the tux, unless they just left his pants on. And I'm so confused. That's the only part where I'm really confused on. Is like, how did he keep the necklace? Because to get him into the tux, he had to be naked. Unless they just changed out the top and lets his pants on. That's the only way I could logically think that.
Maybe he had a t-shirt on and they just put it over the t-shirt.
Yeah, like the tux thing. But I was thinking like they maybe just put, because it would be a lot of hassle to trying to put somebody who's passed out into a pair of pants. I mean, you have to be really pretty strong to do that, I would think.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've never tried to deadlift somebody into pants, but
So he hops away. He gets outside, uses his straight razor on a chain, and frees himself. Her dad chases him in the car.
so he hides underneath the car.
Yes. Then her dad cranks up the car with him underneath it, so he rolls out from underneath the car.
And smack dab into the headlights.
He flips the headlights on and he sees him. He finishes freeing his legs. He runs. The dad chases him in the car. He climbs up the tree. And the dad, in his infinite wisdom, drives smack dab into the tree.
Yeah. Doesn't do anything to the tree.
I was like, how dumb can you be?
Game logic.
So they hit him with rocks while he's in the tree. to knock him out of the tree. Then they tie him back up. Except for this time, they take his shoes and socks off, and they take steak knives, and they hammer his feet into the floor with steak knives.
Mm-hmm. It's a pretty painful process of watching.
Lola sits in his lap and yells in his face for him to cry because she is so angry that he is not shedding any tears during this process.
Yeah, and this is the part where he starts like really becoming defiant of like, it's like you would hope that in that situation you would do the same thing, because before that she was, when they first initially got him and tied him up and she sat on his lap and was showing him a scrapbook of all the other past victims that she had, and it's been through years. It was not just this is the first. This was, I think, like the seventh. Like every time she's had a crush on a boy, they've abducted and tortured.
Brent's mother has contacted the local police. They have been to the abduction site and found Brent's things that were left behind. Lola shares her sick scrapbook.
So basically, in this scrapbook, it's basically her history. It's what, 7 guys?
I don't remember the exact number.
But it was 7 guys. She was going through and how each one of them sort of like, and
I think it was like 5.
But either way, so you can see that she was a really young. She had to be. What do you think? Like 10 when this first happened. Mm-hmm. So there's a picture of a 10-year-old, her, with his other boy, and then she progressed through it and she made a comment about one of the kids, his name, and I don't think she ever gave them names. It was just like traits. But they had the names down. Like she clipped them out of the newspaper and put it there and had the pictures. And she was like...
She told him the one before him was Timmy Valentine. Mm-hmm. That's Mia's brother. He was the one who got away.
But she was also making fun of this other kid that pissed his pants. Because that's not something you would do when you're being tortured to death.
Mm-hmm. She tells her dad that she is ready to draw on him now. And that's kind of her thing. All these guys that they abduct, she draws on them, which really is just her way of saying that she carves crude carvings into their chests.
Sort of like you would with a tree, I think. It was like, I think it's their initials, isn't it? I kind of figure out what it was.
It's her initials.
Okay, yeah.
She draws a heart with her initials in their chest.
With a fork.
With crude implements, yeah. Dull, crude implements.
Yeah. She's lovely. She's lovely.
Oh yeah, she's a charmer.
Yeah. I don't understand why boys are not lining up on her doorstep at this point in life. And she's not a pretty girl. I think physically she's attractive, but mentally, she is to be desired.
So, Jamie and Mia it kind of flips back and forth to where you see different things that are happening in the timeline at the same time. So, Jamie and Mia are still in the car, getting high, talking about going into the school, and they talk about going into the school multiple times, but they stay in the car for most of the night. Lola carves her initials into Brent's chest and throws salt at him. When he screams,
they laugh. They're having a good time.
Her and her dad just laugh and have a good old time. When he screams, they say the catchphrase, "We can't hear you." And then they throw more salt. Holly goes into Brent's room and finds the flowers meant for her with the card that says, "I love you." Holly had told Brent she loved him, but he would never reiterate that to her. Mm-hmm. So Jamie and Mia finally decide to go into the school. When Mia goes to get out of the car, she falls out of the car.
Yeah.
Jamie has to help her to go inside. Lola is crowned queen of the dance, and her father crowns her.
With some crowns. The pop crackers you would get if you lived in Australia or England or Canada, the poppers. It's basically these tissue crowns.
Yeah.
And she's like, I can't believe you crowned me. And what I really liked about this one scene, she's like sitting down, they go through a rigmarole of opening up a fake envelope. And, she gets crowned, and there's just blood just all over her hands.
Yeah, she's covered in Brent's blood where she's been digging around in his chest.
Yeah. She
They're
kidnapped
messed up.
5, killed 3.
Oh, okay. I thought it was 5. Mia is all over Jamie at the dance. They are asked to leave. A teacher tells them
They had every right.
if they want to do that sort of thing, they need to go somewhere else.
Well, what she was doing was jerking him off in front of everybody.
He was even felt awkward because people were staring at him and he was like,
I really don't know what to do in this situation.
and he was like, she was like, what do you think you're looking at?
Yeah, she freaks out. It's like, what do you think you're looking at? And I was like, I think I've been like, you jerking off a guy in the middle of a dance floor.
I don't know. Lola dances with Brent as her dad sprinkles glitter on them. She says she's waiting for her prince, but he is just another frog.
But he has still has a steak knife sticking out of his foot.
Both of them.
Yeah, and I don't know if they're still into the floor because she keeps moving them. She moves him, and you can see him winch and stuff as he moves. So I don't know if they're still in the floor, or just enough to not be in the floor, but really,
Yeah.
Your feet are not working at this point.
She says that he's just another frog, but then asks her dad to dance with her. She tells her dad he is her prince. That is why she has been unable to find the right one.
Yeah, because she wants the daddy D. I'm gonna go throw about something completely different now.
Every time you've said that, it gets worse. Okay. Holly talks to the cops, and they're going to send search and rescue in the morning. Lola and her dad open a trap door, pour water in, and the roadkill that they picked up on the way to the house.
Yeah. But you just hear what is down there, and you're like, what is that?
Right. You hear a lot of scratching and dragging noises, and it sounds like wild animals down there.
Well, you take enough civilization out of somebody, they become a wild animal. So we find out is what? 3 human beings.
Is it 3 or 4?
3.
Okay. So.
In various stages of emancipation. Not emancipation.
Emaciation?
Emaciation. And they have all been Dahmered in the forehead. And so they're not human at all at this point. They are just they're husks of people. They're husks of
their former selves.
Yeah.
Well, her dad grabs the power drill and explains how they're gonna do today's procedure. He puts Brent in a headlock, and she mans the drill
because this is her first drilling.
She's all excited, She's like, "This is my first attempt. If it's successful, Daddy's gonna let me do it every time." She's so excited.
She's gonna pop her drill cherry.
So Brent acts out. He acts like he's out of it. Her father gets the hot kettle going. She goes to pour the hot water in, but misses and pours it all over her dad's arm. Her dad says, "Well, give it a bigger tip next time." And she says, "Okay, I'm sorry." And she goes to pour it again, and she's like, well, I don't think the hole's big enough. Can you make it bigger?
And her dad just brutally drills into his head. I mean, it's just brutal.
Well, he doesn't like drill into it, but it
He
seems like he like really tries to round out the hole.
Yeah, I mean, he's drilling into the frontal part of the brain and the skull, and he says, don't go too far. You obviously could give him a lobotomy, which is sort of the whole point of this. But
Well, that's the thickest part of the skull.
it is
So you have to drill
pretty
enough to do what you're intending to do, which is to basically do like a lobotomy, but not make the person into.
But I'm trying to. I'm still trying.
You're not trying to kill the person.
Yeah, but I'm trying to still understand the water, because I know when Jeffrey Dahmer did it, he did it with acid.
Well, it cooks the brain. The water does.
But you could still have. Can you still? I mean, they did it in insane asylums, up to the 50s, where they would just scramble the frontal cortex, and it was simple, clean, and easy.
They didn't have the tools to do that.
You just need a pickaxe.
They're not smart people.
There's the internet.
They're not smart people.
All right. Okay.
So.
Pickaxe. Wow, that's the wrong. An ice pick. I'm in an ice pick. You don't need a pickaxe. That's the wrong implement. That would kill somebody.
Yeah.
Ice pick. You just need a thin piece of wire to go through the tear ducted scrambled brain.
Yeah, but if you went in too far,
Yeah, true.
you would kill somebody. It's a fine line. It takes
Well, it doesn't look.
a skilled person to do it.
Yeah, but it doesn't look like they really care about a body count at this point.
So, all the while, he was again using the straight razor to free his hands.
And the straight razor was hidden in his back pocket of
Yep.
his trousers. So when he must have got up the first time, and they probably didn't even look at, they were probably just in the throes of, they didn't probably even put two and two
Yep.
together.
So when they stood him up, he freed his hands. He sliced the dad clean across the face.
Mm-hmm.
He pulls the blades from his feet, stabs the dad in the neck, slice, slice. Lola jumps on his back. He punches her in the face 3 or 4 times. He pushes the dad into the pit with the creatures. Lola is enraged.
Well, he sort of lingers. Doesn't the dad sort of try to drag him down?
No.
I think.
Lola pushes him into the pit. He's hanging on the edge of the pit, trying to climb out. She grabs the hammer, hits his hands to where he falls in, and then she throws the hammer in on top of him.
Yeah, it throws the hammer, a flashlight, and a few other items, and then closes the.
She leaves it open for a few minutes, and
Yeah.
she screams at him, and then she shuts it.
And then they're done eating dad, or they're just waiting for to eat them later.
He finds his way around to the flashlight, and after she closes the door, he finds his way around to the flashlight after she closes the door.
Oh, I forgot to rate this. Kill 1. Daddy gets poked. Drill thrown into his face. 6 stabs in the neck. And dinner for the failed experiments. I give that a 4 out of 5 because of just how brutal it was.
Dad didn't get any drill anything.
No, he got the drill thrown into his face.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did. Brent threw the drill at him to throw him off balance so he can charge into his face, and stab him in the neck.
He sliced his face open with the straight razor,
Yes.
and then he sliced both sides of his neck.
Yes, but the dad dropped the drill at his
steak
foot.
knives.
He picked up the drill, threw it in his solar plexus, knocked the wind out of him for a second, so he could charge in and stab him into the neck.
Okay.
That's how he was able to do it.
I thought you were saying that he drilled him with the drill.
No. He threw the drill into his solar plexus or into his face, knocked him on balance, was able to charge in and kill him.
Okay.
So he kills the failed experiments. And you really don't see a lot of the kills there.
No. A lot of them are kind of like in the dark type things. Again, you got ahead.
It would be...
I'm up here somewhere.
Yeah.
Where did I go? Da-da-da-da.
Brent kills the other creatures, to keep him from killing him. Sits back and tries to figure out.
Jamie takes Mia home. Yeah. Walks her all the way up to the door. It was funny too because her dad was there like waiting for her to come home. And I'm trying to remember what he said to him.
He basically really didn't say a lot. It was just more of a, I'm glad that she's home or whatever. It was just more of,
The dad didn't say anything.
yeah.
Jamie said something like, I must have danced her socks off or something
Yeah,
like that.
it was like, I must have swept her off her feet or whatever.
Yeah, something like that. And the dad just kind of grinned at him and he left.
Well, we do, there is a pretty interesting part, if you pay attention to it, that there's a picture of Mia and
Her brother.
her brother on the nightstand.
Tommy, yeah.
Yeah, and then you sort of see where prior to that, where Britton has a flashback when she was going through the scrapbook of the guy in the street, which we find out is Mia's brother, and then explains sort of her.
Role and everything, yeah.
Yeah.
How everything's all interconnected. How, because of Lola, everybody has lost somebody that they loved. Because of Lola, Mia lost her brother. Because of Lola, Brent lost his dad. Everybody lost somebody that they loved because of her. She's the one that made all this come about. So Brent kills the other creatures to keep them from killing him. Then he sits back and tries to figure a way out. Lola goes and suffocates her mother, or
She
Bright
suffocates,
Eyes is what everybody calls her.
but then we realize she goes, "Good night, Mummy." So we realize that she's the mother of Lola, but just like the others. So here's my theory: is that the dad he's done the exact same thing, and then he's brought his daughter, and so she's sort of like seeming that this is normality.
Right.
This is her normality. So, obviously her mother, which she has hatred for because of jealousy, this weird incestual jealousy, it has, the same forehead drill and is mindless.
Right.
Well, not completely mindless, but mindless enough to not.
Holly remembers something Brent told her, so she phoned the police to tell them. The policeman goes to Lola's house to look for Brent. Brent threw something at the trap door
The flashlight.
to draw the attention to it.
He took that flashlight because it's a really big, beefy workman's flashlight.
Right. It's a huge flashlight. So the policeman opens the trap door and looks inside and sees Brent. Lola waits until the cop is there, leaned over the door, and
Bum rushes him.
she shoots him, doesn't she?
No, he's the only one with the gun. I think she stabs him.
She kills him and she pushes him in. Lola says she's going to kill his mom and Holly.
Yeah, he's going to stab Holly in the heart like he stabbed her, and he's going to kill her.
No, I'm going to your house. I'm going to stab your mom in the neck like you did my daddy. And I'm going to stab Holly in the heart like you did me.
Yes.
And she went off on foot to accomplish this.
Well, fortunately, the cop dropped his gun into the pit as he fell in, and Brent picked it up and aimed at Lola and shot all the bullets all at once into the ceiling. But it scared her enough not to close the gate, the door.
The trap door, yeah.
Yeah. So that was a good decision, but it still irritated me that he shot all the bullets all at once instead of like one or two, and then.
Right. Yeah, because that was the only thing it really accomplished. I mean, he sat there and thought how he would escape. Holly came over to see what was going on. Lola throws something at her car to get her to stop.
Yeah, the scrapbook. She checks the scrapbook.
So Brent decides to stack all the bodies up like stairs, and he climbs them. He gets into the cop's car, and he takes off going really fast down the road, and he runs over Lola.
Well, okay, so here's the thing that's really irritated me about the movie a little bit, was that Lola really didn't think this one through very well, because she grabs the knife, her scrapbook, and proceeds to walk barefooted down the road.
In Australia, which I'm assuming their temperatures are quite hot, on asphalt, which I'm assuming is quite hot.
And then she's also singing that song.
You love that song, don't you?
Mm-hmm. It's
Am I not pretty enough?
yeah. So, okay, and then Brenton's driving down probably 80 miles an hour or so.
Or if not more. I mean, he was going. He was at it.
Holly is being chased down by Lola because nobody locks her doors anymore. Because she drives an old Volkswagen. So, and then she gets into the car, and he swerves and misses Holly and nails Lola. But she's not dead yet.
That chick is so freaking psycho that he hit her with that car going I don't know how fast, and she is still crawling after them. She's still crawling. She ain't gonna stop.
Yeah.
So he kicks it in reverse, hits her again.
It's time to make road paste.
And then Brett and Holly drive off to his mom's house, and his mother is so thrilled to see him and to know that he's safe. And that's the end of the movie.
Yep. So
I was telling the bunny man, I was like, you know, he has to hit it in reverse and hit her again.
and again and again.
It's a horror movie. You got to see blood coming out of that mouth. She ain't dead.
So
That chick is psycho.
what's
Psycho
your
don't die that easy.
what's your final rating on it?
We're not done yet. We still got the trivia.
Yeah, but we always do the rating and then the trivia.
This movie, it wasn't one of the really... It's more of the B plus rated. I mean, let's face it. It really is a B plus rated movie. It's not a really B rated. It's one of the higher end B rated movies.
I wouldn't even consider it that. I just think it's one of the more undersung movies. It should definitely have gotten more of a
Yes,
notice.
I agree. There are some unanswered questions, but I would probably give it a solid 4.
I go to 4.5. And that's really because for me it's the little things that add up.
There are some
it's,
little things that are unanswered, so you
No,
know.
no. But it's the little things also that they did. Like, they used practical effects.
Mm-hmm.
When she got hit, number one, there was no other music. When after she got hit and she was dragging herself across that road, and you just hear that good chunk of that knife.
And then of her
Of
pulling her body.
And then you see that wrist. And that wrist is broken. Like, you can tell that, there's bone, there's blood. And it's not like gratuitously, she's not like, well, I just got to dust off a little bit. It's not that, there's blood all over her face. She's damaged, but she's just chucking along, and I just love that there's nothing, and there's just that, there's that reveille of, like, I found you, you're safe, for the most part, or what the hell happened, and then you just hear that good chunk, and it's just like, and then nothing happens. They didn't freak out, they didn't do anything. It's just like, I gotta finish this, that was the mentality. Everything for me, like, I like how all the little pieces, without being told, without somebody going, and see, there's that's Mia's brother right there. That's Mia's brother. Without being told, you can piece stuff if you pay close enough attention to it.
Right.
And those are the things I hate being told exactly what to think, or, like obvious things. It's just as like, oh, that makes, that it was all interconnected. That's why she's acting out. That's why the sexual exploitation, I guess, and tension, and with Mia, and just the depression, and the alcohol abuse, and the drug abuse, and stuff like that. So, and then it proves that women can be both brutal and sadistic.
That was one thing I really enjoyed. I think the young lady that played Lola did a really, really good job.
But it's also lighthearted and comedic. It's just, and I love how she was doing it like this is just another day in the neighborhood type thing. Mm-hmm. This is how you show love to somebody.
Right. So some of the trivia for the film The Loved Ones. And I think the title is very ironic too, because normal families don't act this way. This is not normal. And the title is The Loved Ones, because you call family members loved ones, and normal families do not act this way.
They don't. Uh-huh.
So the title is just so ironic to me. Everything about this film is just hilarious to me. Just, I don't know, it's funny. The first bit of trivia is under the instructions of director Sean Byrne, or what'd you say? It was Byrne. Robin Levy prepared for the role of Lola by researching the serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer as well as watching Misery, Natural Born Killers, and the works of Quentin Tarantino.
All good movies. I know you watch Misery quite often.
Yeah, that's my depressive movie. When I'm depressed, I watch it, and when it gets to the scene where she breaks his ankles, I always turn it up. So, yeah, that lets you know how twisted my brain is. So, there you go.
That's why I can't run away very fast.
The movie was filmed in only 4 weeks. John Jarrett turned down the role of Daddy to avoid typecasting. Some scenes were filmed in Box Hill Senior Secondary College in Melbourne. Richard Wilson's character Jamie was originally named Sack. I think Jamie's probably a little bit better.
Yeah.
Film critics Chase Well called antagonist Lola Princess one of the greatest villains in horror history. She did play a good character. Some of the taglines in the film is, "You don't have to die to go to hell," and "Prom night can be torture. Hell hath no fury like a prom queen scorned." Those are ones I thought that were like really ironically hilarious.
Now, there was one other trivia you didn't mention. There was a guy that killed several people. And this movie was one of the ones that the judge cited as his inspiration.
Really?
Yeah. It's on Wikipedia.
I don't always look on Wikipedia. Because we did so many.
Yeah, no, I just thought that was really interesting that a killer, because he sort of copycatted the movie. Mm-hmm. But the judge cited that, I guess this guy watched the movie a lot. So it sort of became under fire.
Was he an Austrian?
Yeah, not Australian. He was not an Austrian. I mean, Austria is like in Europe.
Oh, he was Australian?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And yeah, so I mean, that's just sort of like the only controversy of this movie. It was that some guy was crazy enough to do stuff, and he used the movie as inspiration.
Well, there's always going to be somebody do something.
Yeah. So, all right, that concludes this episode.
Yeah. Typically, we only do a couple of films at a time as far as watching and doing our notes and everything, but this time we decided to bite the bullet and do the entire month of movies, and that's not so fun for me when I've had a cold for most of this month. So,
But let's kick off our prom. So sit back, listen to bad music, dress up real nicely for the rest of the month, and give us $25 per episode, because that's how much prom is anymore, or 50 or whatever. So yeah, that is The Loved Ones.
that's the first episode of our High School Dance Till You Die series.
Yes, and our next movie is Freaks of Nature.
Yep, so stick around for episode number 2. We'll scare you later.
Bye.